The fastest way to lose someone's respect isn't lying. It isn't failing. It's replying to their message within 45 seconds after they ignored you for 3 days. Read that again. There are 7 invisible laws governing every social interaction you will ever have. And right now, right this moment, you are probably violating at least 3 of them without knowing it. The first 3 destroy more lives than the other 4 combined. Never react, never beg, never chase. But those 3 are just the symptoms. The real wound, the one the other 4 laws expose, is something far more dangerous. By the time you reach Law 5, you will understand why you've lost arguments you should have won, relationships you should have kept, and respect you never should have lost. And by the time you hear the final law, you will see every failed interaction in your life through a lens that makes sense for the first time. Most people believe they are in control of their social lives. They have opinions. They set boundaries. They don't let people walk over them. This belief is an illusion. The average person spends roughly 70% of their emotional energy reacting to provocations specifically designed, consciously or not, to trigger exactly that reaction. An ex posts a photo with someone new. A coworker claims credit for your work in a meeting. A friend leaves your message unopened for 2 days, but posts on their story 4 times. Each reaction costs you something real. Not metaphorically, literally. Every reaction is a withdrawal from a finite emotional account. And the people provoking you understand this mechanism, even if they couldn't articulate it, because they feel it working. Here is the terrifying part. When you react to someone, you issue a receipt that says, "Your words carry weight. You can change my emotional state with minimal effort." Once that receipt is issued, it can be collected again, and again, and again. You are no longer unpredictable. You are a vending machine with a labeled button. This is not about toxic people. This is human psychology functioning exactly as it has for 5 centuries. If you don't understand the laws governing it, you are not a player. You are a piece on someone else's board. Niccolò Machiavelli was exiled from Florence in 1513, stripped of his position, tortured, thrown out of the city he had served for 14 years. Most men would have begged for mercy. Most men would have defended their name. Most men would have chased redemption until they destroyed what was left of their dignity. Machiavelli went home and wrote The Prince. Buried in that book is an observation so sharp that most readers pass over it without stopping. He wrote, and I'm paraphrasing, that the greatest threat to any ruler is never the enemy with the largest army. It is the enemy who can make the ruler act against his own interest. The enemy who can provoke a reaction, force a desperate move, trigger a chase before the ruler even realizes he is being played. Machiavelli called this being drawn out of your fortress. And he argued that most people, princes and peasants alike, spend their entire lives outside their fortress, chasing shadows that were deliberately cast to pull them into the open, reacting to provocations designed by people who understood something they didn't. The 7 laws we are about to break down are the walls of that fortress. 3 to stop the bleeding, 4 to make sure the gates never open again. I learned Law 3, never chase, in a way that still makes my stomach drop when I think about it. 3 years ago, I wanted a business partnership more than I wanted almost anything. I had done the groundwork. I had built the infrastructure. I needed one person to say yes. And I chased. I sent the first email. Nothing. 3 days passed. I sent a second, just following up to make sure this landed. Still nothing. Then a third email. This one was longer. I explained the vision. I laid out the benefits. I was practically begging, dressed up in professional language and bullet points. Then LinkedIn. Then a comment on their post. I checked my inbox between meetings. I convinced myself they were busy. I rewrote drafts that nobody asked me to write. One night, I vented to a mentor, a man who had built and sold 2 companies. I expected sympathy. I wanted him to say, "Keep going, you're almost there." Instead, he laughed. Not cruelly, just honestly. And he said 7 words I have never been able to forget. "You've already lost." And you knew it after email too. I sat in silence for what felt like a full minute, because he was right. I did know. I knew after the second email that the deal was dead. Everything after that was not persistence. It was grief disguised as effort. I was not building a partnership anymore. I was negotiating with my own insecurity and calling it ambition. The partnership never happened, but the lesson was worth more than any deal. I learned that chasing is not effort. Chasing is what happens when you cannot accept that the door is already closed. And the most humiliating part? Everyone watching can see it before you can. Let me give you a story that makes the first law, never react, permanently visible. Napoleon Bonaparte, at the height of his power, received a letter from the British press mocking him relentlessly. They called him a diminutive tyrant. They drew cartoons of him as a toddler throwing tantrums in a general's uniform. Every advisor urged him to respond. Issue a statement. Defend his honor. Show strength before the insult spread. Napoleon read the letter, set it down, and said nothing. For 3 months, the British press escalated. More insults, more cartoons, more provocations specifically engineered to trigger a public reaction from the most powerful man in Europe. And Napoleon remained silent. His silence became louder than any statement he could have issued. The British press began to look desperate, screaming at a man who would not even turn around to acknowledge they existed. Napoleon understood something that takes most people a lifetime to learn. Every time you defend yourself against an insult, you confirm that the insult matters. You validate the attacker's relevance. His power in that moment came not from his army, but from his refusal to be drawn out of his fortress. But Napoleon also made a mistake later in his reign, and that mistake is the subject of Law 5. We'll come back to that. First, the law that most people break before breakfast. The first law is the hardest because it fights every instinct you have. Never react. When someone provokes you, an insult, a dismissive comment, a deliberate silence designed to make you chase, and you respond, you have done more than defend yourself. You have handed them proof that their words carry weight. You have issued a receipt, and receipts get collected. Now here is where almost everyone gets this completely wrong. The problem is not the anger. The problem is not the emotion. The problem is predictability. If someone knows exactly what will trigger you, they know exactly how to control you. Anger is not the weakness. Predictable anger is. Imagine pouring water into a bucket with a hole at the bottom. That is what reacting does. The water is your emotional energy. The hole is the provocation. Every reaction is you refilling a bucket that was designed to never stay full. The only winning move is to put the bucket down. Let me make this surgical. You are sitting in a meeting. A coworker makes a passive-aggressive comment about a project you led. Interesting approach. Not what I would have done, but I guess it worked out. The room goes quiet. You have 1 second to decide. Most people defend. They explain the process. They list the hours. They justify. And the moment they do, they have accepted the coworker's frame. The frame is, your work is questionable. When you defend, you are operating inside that frame, and everyone watching senses it. The Machiavellian move is this. Pause. Let the comment sit for a full 3 seconds. Then say, calmly, without edge, "Thanks for the feedback," and move to the next slide. You have not ignored the comment. You have done something far more powerful. You have demonstrated that it did not land. You have proven that your emotional state is not available for public withdrawal. Now pause. Actually pause. Think about the last 3 times you reacted. Who provoked you? What you said? And this is the only question that matters. What did your reaction actually change? Law 4 builds directly on this. But we have 2 more laws to survive first. Never beg. Begging wears 100 masks. Sometimes it sounds like, "Are we fine?" when the other person has clearly stopped investing. Sometimes it looks like lowering your price to keep a client who has never respected your time. Sometimes it is silence, the worst kind, where you say nothing while someone treats you poorly because you are terrified that speaking up will make them leave. Here is what Machiavelli understood that most people will never accept. Every act of begging contains a hidden transaction. You are trading your perceived value for the hope of someone else's approval. And the moment that transaction executes, two things happen simultaneously. The other person's value increases because clearly they possess something worth begging for. And your value decreases because clearly you do not believe you can find it anywhere else. Let me put numbers on this so you feel it. You are a freelancer. Your rate is $500 for a deliverable. A client says it is too high and offers $300. You have two choices. Accept immediately and communicate that your original price was a bluff. The client now knows your rate is a starting bid. Every future negotiation is poisoned at the root. Or say this calmly, without hostility. I understand budgets are tight. My rate reflects the outcome I deliver, not the hours I spend. If that doesn't work right now, I completely understand, and I hope our paths cross when the timing is better. Then stop talking. In the first scenario, you begged. You traded value for temporary approval. In the second, you did not. And something counterintuitive happens in the second scenario. Often, not always, but often they come back. Because you communicated something rare. You communicated that you can afford to lose them. Now stop. Look at your life. Which relationship has you giving more than you receive? Not out of generosity, but out of terror that withdrawing would leave you with nothing. Which client, which boss, which person has you performing loyalty while they perform indifference? That question is uncomfortable for a reason, but discomfort is fuel, and law will show you exactly how to burn it. More on that in a few minutes. First, the law that almost destroyed me. Never chase. Chasing is not effort. Chasing is when you invest in something that is investing nothing in return and call it persistence. It is the most socially acceptable form of self-destruction because our culture has romanticized it. Movies tell you to fight for love. Hustle culture tells you to grind until you get noticed. Nobody tells you that chasing repels exactly what you are trying to attract. Here is the visual. Imagine two magnets. When you chase, you are moving your magnet towards something. But the thing you are chasing perceives your movement and registers it as lower value. Why? Because anything worth having does not need to chase. So it moves away. You chase harder. It moves further. This is not a dynamic. It is a spiral. And the only way to stop it is to stop moving. Let me make it painfully specific. You matched with someone. The first few conversations were good, real back and forth. Then they go silent for 4 days. Your instinct, and you know this instinct intimately, is to send another message. Hey, hope your week's been good. You tell yourself you are just checking in. You tell yourself it is casual. But what that message actually communicates, whether you intend it or not, is this. I noticed you stopped investing. And I am willing to invest more to compensate for your absence. The other person's brain registers this. They may not be able to articulate it, but they feel it, and they pull further away. Now here is the flip. Not chasing is not the same as not trying. The difference is directional. Effort toward a mutual goal is pursuit. Effort towards someone who has already left is self-erasure. The test is brutally simple. If you stop pushing today, would the thing still move toward you? If the answer is no, you were the only engine. And an engine that runs alone burns out. If something in these first 3 laws hit a nerve, if you recognize yourself in a specific moment, a specific person, a specific message you wish you had not sent, then pause. Do not scroll yet. What comes next, laws 4 through 7, is where the permanent change lives. These are not surface techniques. Subscribe now because the next section is the part most creators skip. The hard part. If you leave now, you leave with half the armor. Take 2 seconds. Subscribe. Then keep watching. Now here is where everything either holds or falls apart. You can know these 3 laws. You can intellectually understand them. But the moment your boss dismisses your work in front of your peers, will you stay silent or will you defend your reputation? The moment the person you care about starts pulling away, slowly, quietly, one dry response at a time, will you let them go or will you send the paragraph? The moment the opportunity seems to be slipping through your fingers, will you watch it fall or will you send the 4th follow-up email? This is where ego enters the room. Your ego tells you that reacting is standing up for yourself. Your ego tells you that begging is fighting for what matters. Your ego tells you that chasing is effort, and effort is virtue, and virtue cannot be wrong. Machiavelli would call your ego the traitor inside the fortress. It convinces you to open the gate for the enemy, and then tells you it was bravery. The first 3 laws protect your power. The next 4 multiply it. Quick question. In the last difficult conversation you had, who spoke more? And who walked away with more information? The 4th law is this. Your silence is not absence. It is presence withheld. And is the most underrated weapon in any social dynamic. Most people are terrified of silence. In a negotiation, they fill it within seconds. In an argument, they break it almost immediately. In a moment of tension, they will say anything, literally anything, to escape the discomfort of the gap. Harvard researchers studied this directly. In a series of negotiation experiments published in the Journal of Applied Psychology, they found that negotiators who used deliberate silence, pauses of at least 3 seconds after a counterpart's offer, secured significantly better outcomes than those who responded immediately. Not because they were smarter, because their silence forced the other side to negotiate against itself. The counterpart, uncomfortable with the pause, would often fill it by improving their own offer, unprompted. You are in a salary discussion. You have laid out your case. The number is on the table, 85,000, and then you stop speaking. Your manager feels the silence. Everyone does. In that silence, they will reveal something. Well, we can't do 85, but we could do 78 and revisit in 6 months with a performance bonus. You have not said a word, and you already have a better offer than if you had kept justifying. This law flows directly from the first 3. If you never react, never beg, never chase, silence is what you deploy instead of those instincts. It is not emptiness. It is power held in reserve. But there is a trap here. And it brings us to a law most people have never heard articulated. You've lived this. Someone takes your words wrong. You spot the shift. Tone gets cold, replies get short. And your brain screams one command, explain. Wait, that's not what I meant. Let me give you context. The moment you send that message, you've accepted their framing. You are guilty and must now account for yourself. You aren't defending your position. You're validating their right to put you on trial. And here's the danger. Every explanation you give becomes ammunition. You apologize for a tone they imagined. That apology is now a receipt that says, I accept blame when you feel offended, even if I did nothing wrong. And receipts get collected. Abraham Lincoln kept a drawer full of letters he never sent. When rivals attacked him, he wrote brutal page-long responses, every argument, every insult, every defense. Then he placed them in a drawer and walked away. He called them his hot letters. He knew writing satisfied the need to explain, but sending was surrender. Sending opened the fortress gate. The Machiavellian move, I can see that upset you. Full stop. No comma. No explanation. You've acknowledged their feeling without accepting their interpretation is your problem to manage. Now pause. The last argument you were in, how much of what you said was explanation versus substance? And did any of that explanation actually change their mind? Or did they just use your own words against you? Think about the last time you wanted something so badly the thought of losing it tightened your chest. A job, a relationship, a deal. Now answer honestly, in that moment were you negotiating or were you praying? Because there is a difference. And the other person can tell. Need is an odor. You can't smell it on yourself, but everyone else can. It leaks through how fast you reply, through compromises you make before they even ask, through the way you laugh at jokes that aren't funny. The other side, boss, client, partner, registers every leak in milliseconds. This person cannot walk away. I have the leverage. Now the flip that changes everything. The moment you genuinely accept you can lose, walk out with nothing and be fine by tomorrow, your entire presence transforms. You're calmer. Your words carry weight because they're not padded with desperation. And paradoxically, this makes you more likely to win. Salary negotiation. Market rate is 85. They offer 72. Most people counter with 80, praying. That signals you'll accept less than you're worth. The person who can walk away says, based on the market and what I bring, the number needs to start with an 8. If not possible, I understand, wish you the best. Then silence. You haven't asked for more. You've set a standard and shown you won't betray it. Machiavelli called this virtue, radical self-sufficiency. The ruler who depends on nobody cannot be leveraged by anyone. He can't be threatened, blackmailed, or manipulated. Now pause. Name one situation where you're staying not because you want to, but because you're afraid of the void it would leave. That fear is the chain. The 7th law is the key. What would be left of you if everyone's opinion disappeared tomorrow? Not their presence, just their validation. The likes. The approval. If all of it vanished, what would remain? If the answer is not much, you're not living. You're performing. And performances end when the audience leaves. Every violation of the first 6 laws traces to this wound. You reacted because you needed them to know you were wronged. You begged because you needed them to choose you. You chased because their absence felt like a verdict on your value. You explained yourself because being judged felt like erasure. You couldn't walk away because losing felt like disappearing. Need is the thread, and the only permanent solution is building a life that validates itself. Abraham Maslow noticed this late in his career. After studying hundreds of self-actualized people, he found they shared one trait. They were less dependent on other people's opinions than any group he'd ever studied. Not arrogant, not isolated. They'd built something inside that didn't require external refills. Their worth was generated internally, not a loan requiring repayment. That's the fortress. Not walls to keep people out. A structure of self-respect that doesn't collapse when someone stops respecting you. A direction that doesn't vanish when someone stops walking beside you. And you build it one decision at a time. Every silence instead of a reaction. Every person you let go instead of begging them to stay. Every explanation you swallow. Every time you refuse to chase what's already gone. Each moment is a brick. Now think back to the beginning. The 3-word reply. The inbox you refreshed. The paragraph you sent knowing it would cost you. That was never about them. It was about the hole you were trying to fill with their response. Most people spend their lives asking one question. How do I make them value me? Powerful people ask a different one. What part of me still needs their approval? Answer honestly, and nobody controls you again. Power begins where reaction ends. Let me ground everything in something empirical. In 2014, a team at Stanford led by Dr. Carol Dweck studied hundreds of people navigating rejection, failure, and social evaluation. What they found was that people who interpreted rejection as a reflection of their permanent worth spiraled. They reacted. They chased. They begged, sometimes not with words, but with self-destructive behavior that lasted for weeks. The people who interpreted rejection as information. This approach did not work. What can I adjust? Moved on without losing momentum. Same event. Same heartbreak. Completely different outcomes. The difference was not intelligence, not privilege, not luck. It was where they sourced their sense of value, from outside or from inside. This is not philosophy. This is measurable psychology. The 7 laws are not rules to memorize. They are the operational manual for moving your source of validation from external to internal, and the data says that shift changes everything. Now, think back to the very beginning of this video. The 3-word reply. The inbox you kept refreshing. The message you sent even though you knew it would cost you. That moment was never about the other person. It was about the hole you were trying to fill. The need for their response to prove you existed. Most people spend their entire lives asking a single question in 1,000 different ways. How do I make them value me? How do I make them stay? How do I make them choose me? Powerful people ask a completely different question. What part of me still needs their approval? Answer that question honestly, and nobody controls you again. Power begins where reaction ends.